Scene of the crash for us this lunchtime. Ian, have police given any more information about the number of people who have died in this accident?
That's clearly what we're waiting to hear at the moment, and the police are due to come to the scene here to give us an update on their investigation and hopefully the number of casualties as well in the next few minutes, and of course we'll bring that live to you. In terms of the death toll, we are being led to believe it may reach double figures, and that would put it on a par with an accident on the M4 motorway back in 1991 that killed 10 people. We don't know whether as many as that have died in this accident. The police will hopefully update us, but let's take a look at the scene behind me. We're still some distance away from the accident because the motorway obviously is still closed off, and we're being kept a good distance back because as of a few hours ago there were still the charred remains of some of those who died still in their vehicles, which had to be removed, and clearly there is an active police investigation underway. We've seen the pictures of the absolute inferno which was on the motorway at around about 8:30 last night, when one vehicle after another ploughed into each other and some of them caught on fire. We've also been hearing from Tom Evans, who was one of those motorists who was on the scene.
There were a lot of fireworks displays last night, and driving down from Reading, quite regularly we saw fireworks in the sky. Obviously there was, lights on here at the rugby club right next to it. There was also, some really heavy patches of rain last night. 1 minute, you'd be slow down to 50 miles an hour coming down this way, just because the rain was so heavy, not because there were police or signs. And then occasionally there were banks of fog. So the conditions last night were pretty bad on the road, and there was a lot of traffic as well. Lots of people out and about. Busy evening. I guess I left Reading at about 6:30, so lots of people sort of leaving that kind of time from London and from Reading. And yeah, it was a slow drive. Took a couple of hours to get down to Taunton, and there's a lot of traffic around.
Now, Tom referred to there seeing a lot of fireworks displays all along the motorway last night because of the time of year, and there's been speculation that perhaps some of the motorists involved in this accident may have been distracted by a fireworks display. There was one taking place at Taunton Rugby Club, which is right adjacent to the motorway. A lot of debate as to whether or not the fireworks were still in the air at the time the crash happened. Certainly we've heard from some motorists who were actually there on the night who said that no, the fireworks display had ended. The rugby club say the fireworks display had ended. But we've also heard from one local man, Stephen Moore, who was watching the fireworks nearby from his vantage point in his house, and says that it was still ongoing when the accident happened.
The firework display was obviously still going on when this glow was happening down to the left, and from my house the accident is to the left of where the firework display was. So it could well, obviously someone may well have been sort of having a little look, because it was a pretty big display, I think, and maybe that, yeah, it could be part of that.
Well, let's just give you an update on what the situation is as regards motorway closures. I mean, clearly where we are here, it is closed off in both directions. It was closed northbound between 26 and 24 and southbound between 23 and 25 during the night. Now, the road closure has been reduced, and it is now only closed between junctions 24 and 25 in both directions. Traffic is being diverted via the A38, and according to the Highways Agency, is clearly signposted. They're of course advising people to avoid the M5 if they can, and it's likely the M5 will remain closed for most of the day. And of course there are delays in the surrounding area, but the weather is good now. The police are carrying out their investigation. As well as that, they're going to have to obviously oversee the repair of the motorway road surface and the central reservation before this motorway can reopen. But as I say, we'll hopefully be hearing an update from the police very shortly.
Ian Woods, thank you. Well, let's get an update on the injuries now. David Crabtree is at the Musgrove Park Hospital in Taunton. David, how many people are they dealing with there?
Well, they're dealing with 16. They say their major incident plan swung into action to deal with this unprecedented emergency last night. Those 16 are the most seriously injured brought here. We're told none of them are suffering from burns, but there are a whole variety of other injuries, all related to impact. A short time ago, Dr. Colin Close, who's the medical director here, gave us an update on their conditions.
Luckily, none is currently in a critical situation. They've received a wide range of injuries, from simple limb fractures to some patients with chest and abdominal trauma, but all the patients have now received the treatment that they needed when they came into the hospital, and all are stable. Some are obviously going to be with us a few days. We've had major incidents before. Obviously, next to the M5 motorway, you're always susceptible to that, but I think it's fair to say we've had nothing of this magnitude ever before, and I'd like to thank all the staff and also the emergency services for putting the plan into action and treating the patients so promptly and so well. Obviously, our thoughts at the moment go out to the families of those injured.
Well, on top of the 16 here, there was another 26 people who were injured. They were called the walking wounded. As part of this plan, they were taken to the Yeovil Hospital, not very far away from here. We're told of those 26, most of them have now been allowed home. They've still got one child and one man who's in intensive care. So some better news from the hospitals here in this part of the country.
David Crabtree, thank you. Well, police have launched an emergency number for those who have not been able to contact missing friends and relatives through the normal means. It is 0800 092 0410, and as I mentioned, we are expecting that police news conference to be held near the scene within the hour. We will bring it to you live.